everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on the Movies, where we are the only YouTube channel who reviews movies in terms of food. So today we are doing the second Dr. Phibes movie, and it's called Dr. Phibes Rises Again, and it was made in 1972. And I would tell you there's a few people in it. I'll just tell you Robert Quarry plays Darius, who is Dr. Phibes' nemesis. And Valley Kemp is Volnavia, Dr. Phibes' sidekick. And Peter Jeffrey comes back as Inspector Trout. And guess what? Even Peter Cushing makes a speaking cameo as the captain who takes the ship to Egypt. The movie starts out, quote, 3 years later, until the moon came into proper position.
With the moon on his tomb.
With the planets and the moon on his tomb. Dr. Phibe rises from the pallet bed he had shared with his dead wife.
He rises.
That's in quotes. From his pallet bed where he shared it with his wife, his dead wife, who's still dead, but not him. Which is weird because he was hooked up to all embalming fluid. How does somebody survive that?
He had it where it took all of his blood out and replaced it with embalming fluid.
Ugh. That just sounds awful. So, how could he have sustained life these past 3 years on embalming fluid? With no food, no water, and then, at the end of the 3 years, when the moon allied with his tomb, all of that embalming fluid pumps out and is replaced again by 3-year-old blood. Now, I want to know, can you use old blood? I thought it had an expiration date. He's using 2 to 3-year-old blood. So I'm confused. Oh, well, it's the movies.
Nothing in Dr. Phibes' inventory has an expiration date, apparently.
Well, when he wakes up, he is in for a shock and surprise. Because remember, Dr. Phibes is, first of all, he's like an alpha male and he's the man. But he's also a perfectionist. And his place has been trashed. And he has a special scroll that he's going to use to get his wife to come alive. And it's been stolen. And why is this parchment scroll? Because it's very old.
It's called a papyrus, Safi.
Well, that's what they use to make.
It's called a papyrus.
I know, that's from a plant.
They call it the papyrus.
Okay, well, it helps you somehow. It helps you get eternal life.
Somehow.
Yeah, but that's really never explained.
Nothing's explained.
Nope, I guess not. But this other guy, Darius, he needs it too. And I mean really needs it because, well, we'll see at the end. But he needs it so badly, he had it stolen. And somehow Dr. Phibes finds out that he is the one who stole it. I didn't get that either. But you know how he is. He sets out to kill anyone who stands in the way of him getting it back. Because as soon as he succeeds, he leaves for Egypt. He succeeds in getting it back. He leaves for Egypt with Volnavia. Remember her? His loyal assistant who has cascading water full of acid fall on her at the end of the last movie.
I summoned my Volnavia, my loyal assistant, to come back and help me. And she just appears out of nowhere.
Out of the fog of clouds.
And does this walk like she's a game show contestant walking to Dr. Phibes like...
Or she's coming out onto a model's runway.
because she was an Australian model. She doesn't look Australian at
Marco
all.
keeps insisting that Australians have a certain look about them.
She doesn't look Australian.
Which, I kind of disagree. But anyway, I thought she was dead. And because when the acid poured onto her, she screamed so loudly after not saying a word or making a sound the whole last movie. At the very end, she had a great scream. And I thought, somebody screams like that, they're dead. But as she emerges from the fog, there wasn't even a scratch on her. So the rest of the movie, Dr. Phibes does what he does best. He kills people until he gets back his parchment.
Yeah, her eyebrows look like she drew them on with a Sharpie.
Maybe. This time, I don't know if they had Sharpies back then. Maybe they did. I don't know when those came out. But
or maybe an
what?
ink quill from Harry Pothead. You know, an ink quill, a little ink quill.
Yeah.
Ink them on her head.
We did have those kind of pens.
Maybe Dr. Phibes designed it. You know, he was like, okay, Volnavia, you got your face fucked up, and now I'm gonna make you look like a random Australian model.
Well, so this time more indiscriminate killing happens because last time he had revenge on specific people. He had their pictures and he knew exactly where they are and what they were doing. But this time he just has the objective, get the parchment, and doesn't stop until he meets the goal. And as usual, each kill to get it is carefully carried out and just as gruesome and bizarre. So how does this movie compare with the other one? The intent is different, and so is the setting. For the most part, they are on a ship, they're in his original place, which is trashed, everything is everywhere, messed up. But they end up in Egypt, in a cave, but you can't really tell it's a cave until they show the outside. And also, Dr. Phibes is not as perfect as before. He didn't know Darius' secret, the guy who needed the eternal life source, like him. But Dr. Phibes doesn't want it for himself. He wants to bring his wife alive.
It didn't make a difference whether he knew or not, though.
No. And also, the other guy managed to steal a key, which he also needed. So he got parchment, but he didn't get the key. So they also need the key to get to the secret. So so the other guy follows him to Egypt, and so they have this big tussle with all kinds of dead people to get the key in order to get the whole set. So that part of the story was just it was just too fantastical, and I don't know if it's a word, but I don't really care, and unbelievable. There were too many holes and unanswered questions. It just drove me crazy. About the physical ability for Phibes to return after living on 3 years of embalming fluid. Oh, ew. So, Marco, you go ahead. Because I know you have questions too. I have more, but you go ahead.
Well, I really regret saying that it was better than the first one because in the first one, that last 20 minutes was actually better than anything in this film. And so I wish that I wouldn't have said that because, I think that the first one, because of that last 20 minutes, is still the best one. This one, to compare it to other movies, since a lot of people haven't seen it, probably won't even watch this review, the first one is like Jurassic Park, and then this one, the second one, is like Jurassic World. And that's really what it felt like to me. I thought that it didn't really seem necessary at all. It felt like it could have been a lot better, honestly. There was a lot of unnecessary stuff in it. Like there was this one long scene where he's eating fish and it looks awful. It looks stupid because he's just putting the fork behind his head and pretending to eat it, and that just looks stupid. And the whole thing with Volnavia, You know, in the first movie, I thought her character was really cool because it seemed like it's like, who is she? Like, what's she doing? Why is she helping him? You know, why can't she talk and say something about to him? And then at the end, when she gets the acid, why is she still loyal to him? After that, oh, she's a robot now. They make her into a robot, and they make her into an Australian robot who doesn't even look Australian. And and you know, the fact that it's just, this movie is just full of crap. It's just full of goofball stuff. It's full of this is like if you made a Dr. Phibes cartoon show. This is what you would watch. There were some good kills. The kills overall were a lot better than the first ones, for sure. Especially that bed kill, I thought was very well done. It was very creepy looking. The way that he's bound up and everything, that was very creepy. But other than that, I don't know. This film, it was not worth it. Vincent Price gave a lesser performance than he did in Dr. Phibes. He gave a better performance than Dr. Phibes, even though he talked less. So I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on this movie. I think that it's kind of a thumbs down in a lot of senses.
Well, what did you rate it in terms of food?
We're not to that part yet, though.
Oh.
And so, I don't know what Safi's thinking. So, this movie, a lot of it takes place in London again, too. And I was wondering, like, when are we going to get to Egypt? When are we going to get to Egypt? Oh, now we have to go on a boat, and we have to spend like 30 minutes on a boat dealing with these boring scenes where people talk to each other. Dr. Phibes killed someone. Where's the body? We're going to have another 5-minute long scene where we discover the body. Oh, look. Oh, what's going on? We're going to have a little 5-minute scene where the wife talks to Robert Query, and they do stuff. And then we're going to have a 5-minute scene where other people talk to each other for 5 minutes. Oh, and then we're going to have a little scene where Dr. Phibes is just saying random shit, like, oh, Volnavia, we're so close to Egypt, and we're going to get to blah, 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 and everything's going to be amazing. And then that's like the movie. There's just like, because he's I don't know, he's like a caricature of himself. He's like not even a character anymore like he was in the first one, where you really felt like he was a man with a mission. And this one, he's like a man with too much time on his hands. I mean, he already has too much time. He's just bored as hell. He's making all these random weapons and machines and robots, and he has a robot band in Egypt. It's just ridiculous. I mean, who wrote this movie? Someone who was taking drugs, more drugs than the people making Garbage Pail Kids and the Peanut Butter Solution. And, I mean, I would much rather watch the Peanut Butter Solution and Garbage Pail Kids.
Not me.
Really? You would rather watch this again than Peanut Butter Solution? Again. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, well, I'm not going to watch it again, but I wouldn't want to watch those either.
If you were forced to watch one out of those three, it'd be the Peanut Butter Solution, right?
I don't know. That sounds dumb and I don't like it.
Well, anyways, another thing is the police in this movie are just stupid.
And really, I'm getting a little tired of it because, you know, they have good actors playing these parts. They're not, this one guy, what's his name, Peter or something, who plays the main inspector.
The Candyman
Trout.
guy.
Inspector Trout.
The guy who sung the Candyman song in Willy Wonka.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
And, you know, and they make them, and they do this in these, I read a mystery book a week, and in almost every single story I read, they're behind, they're like dumb. Or they're just stubborn, and they don't want to look bad, but they don't look good. They look. I'm not saying they're violent. I'm just saying they're dumb. They make them look dumb. And so in this movie, well, tell them what they said. What did they say? And that
you can't beat Dr. Phibes. He's never been beaten, and he never will be. You cannot go up against him.
I mean, really? Would a police person, or should a police person have that kind of attitude? No.
Did people on the spectrum get hired to the police back in those days, Safi?
I don't know.
Because
it really irritates me. And, it still reminds me of that alienist, or not the alienist, the Windy City, the
Windy City.
the thing with the Chicago.
No one knows that, Safi. No one knows that.
I know, but that really it's a real reality though. The people who all these murders
Really?
that happened, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them happened in Chicago. Yes, it was a changing city, a growing city, people moving in, the fair was going on, and who catches the serial killer? 2 detectives from Philadelphia, not Chicago. I mean, come on. And so it's the same thing here. They make them look like dummies, and I don't get that.
It's a stereotype. It's the stereotype. It's like
and I think that's terrible.
Everything has to fit into a stereotype. Everything has to be like, and they even had the credits really opens your eyes, because in the credits they have the law, as in like, since this is this type of movie, we have to have the law, and we have to have the girl.
That's Scandinavia.
Should have put the imposter Australian, and then the victims, and then the villain.
And I know that's not like that in every movie, but in this movie it was.
Fill in the blanks.
Which is really weird.
Fill in the blanks storytelling.
Yeah, and I guess Marco and I agree too about Vincent Price, that we didn't think, this is supposed to be, it's called Dr. Phibes Rises Again, so who's the main person, the title Dr. Phibes? Who plays Dr. Phibes? Vincent Price. And it's almost like, maybe it seems like he has this rival in this movie. Now, it wasn't like that in the other movie. He didn't have a rival. He was the man. He was the guy who killed everybody, planned everything, and almost got rid of everybody he wanted to get rid of. And he has this opposing parallel rival whose name is Darius, and they are one-on-one. They go back and forth who gets, because remember I said, Dr. Phibes got his parchment back, but he didn't get his precious key.
His papyrus.
His parchment that is made of papyrus. Marco doesn't know the papyrus is a plant, and they make the parchment from it.
He calls it the papyrus. My Volnavia, I need the papyrus now.
It grows in at least East Africa, and I guess North Africa, because that's Egypt.
And it's like, at one point, it's so hilarious. These stupid policemen are wandering around with their stupid outfits on, and they're like, "You cannot beat Dr. Phibes. It's just not possible."
Here are all these victims murdered horribly too.
And it's like, have you ever tried shooting him? Like, have you ever? Oh, wait a second, England banned guns.
Well, somebody did. So somebody had a gun somewhere.
But has anyone ever tried shooting at him, or I don't know, shooting him with a bow and arrow in the head, stabbing him, chopping his head off with a machete?
There's other ways to kill somebody besides planting a bullet in them.
A flamethrower.
That's what we do in our country.
A flamethrower. A bomb. There's so many different ways. It's like, you can't beat Dr. Phibes. and at one point, they're so dumb. At one point, the characters in this movie. So, they stole Dr. Phibes' woman's tomb. and it has his woman in the tomb, and that's not good. And they took it and they have it in this tent, and and they, and they tell one guy they're like, go go sleep in the tomb tent, go sleep in the tomb tent, and it's like, what? You're gonna send some? You know what's gonna happen to the guy in the tomb tent. Why would you send someone there? Or why would you just send one person? Why wouldn't you have like an army guarding the tomb tent? That would have been so much cooler to see Dr. Phibes have to take on like a whole army of Egyptian, I don't know, whatever the hell. Uh, I thought that was ridiculous. But then I love that kill. That
That's the guy that gets squeezed.
The tomb, yeah. I thought that was very, very well done. That was probably the best kill of the film.
And that really sounds weird, but the thing is, on these two particular movies, the types of, these are carefully planned out, unusual things that he does, and it's actually kind of part of the movie. And so I hate to, to focus on that a little bit, but you can't, because it's a main part of the movie, because he's creative.
Yeah, he's creative.
And he's also an inventor.
Apparently getting revenge on his wife takes like a back seat to him creating all these inventions, things that no one else in the human race has ever created before. Creating robots that have artificial intelligence and all that kind of stuff. All of that stuff is a lot more important to him than actually getting his mission done. But before we get into spoiler alert with Volnavia, the fake Australian woman, we're going to rate this film in terms of food, which is what we do on this channel, in case you didn't know.
And this is a movie, so.
Yeah, well, I rate this movie a bowl of Cheetos, a big bowl of Cheetos, because I think that it's very cheesy, it's very goofy, and like just very artificial and sort of superficial. And there's something that happens when you eat Cheetos and you eat a lot of them. You eat too many of them. You eat a big bowl of Cheetos, and it starts to have a really gross, artificial aftertaste. A really gross taste. It coats your mouth in grossness and has this gross taste and just is not that good. It's just not very good. It's very mixed. But that initial, there are some good things. It starts out good, it ends pretty good, but that whole middle section could have been a lot better. So, Safi, what would you rate it?
Okay, well, I rated it what I like to eat every day for breakfast, every day of the year, are 2 packets of maple cream of wheat. So it's instant. So you pour it in the bowl, and you put hot water in it, and you stir it up, and I eat that every single day. I eat 2 packets, so I'll get more calories. So anyway, I gave it a plain bowl of wheat with no sugar and no milk, because what saved me, I would have given it even worse, would have been the rivalry between Darius and Dr. Phibes. The fact that Dr. Phibes had somebody who was not afraid to go up against him because he really needed what he wanted, and you'll find out in a spoiler alert what that was. Well, we know what it was, but why does he need it? He doesn't have a wife who died in the operating table. So you'll find out. But anyway, I still gave it cream of wheat because I like it, but it doesn't have anything on it. I don't have anything on the maple, but if I had a plain bowl of cream of wheat, I'd put milk and sugar on it. But
you don't call it cream of wheat, though. You call it uji.
Well, it's uji because that's what it is in Swahili. Anyway, which is great. It's a 3-letter word. So if you want to know what uji is in Swahili, that's like a cream of wheat.
Uji?
Some kind of hot cereal. I think they use something else, but
Do you think Dr. Phibes would eat Uji?
it's from Eastern Africa, and guess what they have growing wild? Papyrus growing wild by the side of the road. So how they make it into paper, I have no idea, and I don't know if the people there we lived with did that. So, but anyway, that's what I gave it. So it's like a C. If you wanted to equate it to a letter grade, it's a C because it's pretty average. I just
Don't do that.
and we've
Safi.
already talked. We've already talked
trash.
about all the holes and story holes.
Oh, we
and,
didn't. We have to go into spoilers because
Oh, I'll let Marco do that, I guess.
Dr. Phibes fucks over Robert Query, and who plays Count Yorga, who's much better in that film.
Who's Darius?
Count Yorga.
All right, the guy who plays Darius.
Yeah, Robert Query.
I think it's Quarry.
That's not what I call him. And so
It's Quarry.
yeah, okay. Whatever you say, Safi.
Go ahead.
He basically reveals that he needs the life serum, blah blah blah, and Dr. Phibes basically says F you, and just takes the river of life all for himself and his wife. But then something even worse happens. He has Volnavia come into the river of life with him. Volnavia, his robot assistant. Why is she going there? So that he can keep saying her name and saying, Volnavia, we need to go do this. Volnavia, will you make pancakes today? like that's what it's like. And her character is just, she went from being an interesting character in the first one to being trash in this one. And why is a robot going into the river of life, but then you won't even let Robert Query go in there? Why won't you let Robert Query go in there? Just because he caused you some inconveniences that, like, all of them would have been effing taken out, like, if they just talked. Like, if Dr. Phibes had come to him, if they had collaborated instead, then there probably wouldn't have been a conflict. So I just thought that was stupid. And then the stupid police, of course, they just stand around going,
Oh, well.
maybe next time. And so I don't know. I like the kills. I like some stuff, but yeah, this movie was just not worth it, in my opinion. We should have just stuck to the Tomb of Ligeia. Right, Safi?
I don't
the
know.
Tomb of Ligeia.
That was more like a memorial to. I still have not really.
What is that, Safi?
To me, well, in the
What
book, the story is a memorial to his
okay.
wife, and the rest of it is like something he made up out of the, out of the blue at last minute to fit in with the memorial, and then when they do
Weird.
the film, I did not like the actress in it, but then I was reading this mystery book, and it almost really explained.
Was the actress
Her behavior.
Australian?
No, this was Bonavia. This was the actress who played his second wife, who got spooked to death by his first wife. And
What the hell?
her behavior, I mean, she was very, she liked to impose on people because I guess she thought she was entitled. I don't know, but it really turned me off. I did not like it. And we're not going to talk about the Tomb of Ligeia.
You already did talk about
Well,
it.
I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but it just totally, it just isn't enough for people. I don't want to make people watch something that it's so incomplete.
Well, for our last Vincent Price film, we will be watching The House of the Long Shadows. So that's going to be our last Vincent Price film, and then we'll be all done with Vincent Price.
Yeah, pretty soon
movies
we're going to do
for a while.
Halloween. I think we should have a whole bunch of good Halloween movies to review.
It's been pretty disappointing, honestly.
Yeah.
In terms of reviews, It's not been worth it because they don't get any views. And then in terms of like just stuff to talk about, it hasn't really been worth it at all. Like honestly, the stuff that I would want to talk about is making a Dr. Phibes 3. Like all the different things you could do in a third Dr. Phibes movie. Because at the end he literally gets the elixir of life. And so you could make infinite sequels. So
Yeah, shoot.
That's what I want to talk about. But really, I mean, I don't know. That's just, I don't know.
Well,
But
the thing about Dr. Phibes, or Vincent Price, I should say, is that he had such a beautiful voice that he could talk himself into the grave.
well, I mean, we know he's a great actor. But the problem is just we've watched the worst movies for him, except for the next one. It's not. Anyway, that's it, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.